On this week's Practical Pro Musician, let's talk all about gear. Getting new gear. It's the holidays. Maybe we'll get some new gear for the holiday time, or maybe we will buy some new gear for ourselves, maybe. But let's make sure that you don't make a mistake and get the wrong gear. I'm doing the same thing right now, and we're going to talk all about that today on the podcast. Stay tuned. We love playing music. But it seems like the odds of making a living as a professional musician are about as high as winning the lottery. So the big question is this: how do musicians like us, with jobs, families, and responsibilities, get from where we are today to making a practical living playing music we love? Well, my name is Daniel Hadaway, and this show will give you the answers. This is the Practical Pro Musician. Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of The Practical Pro Musician. It's my favorite time of the week, the time where you and I get to spend a little time together. I hope it is. If it's not your favorite time of the week, I hope it's one of your favorite times of the week. Hey, this week I thought I'm going to take a couple of week break from the podcast after this episode. And that is because as I'm recording this, it's a couple of weeks before Christmas. And so I'm going to take a break for a couple of weeks in order to hang out with my family a little bit more, especially my son, who will be out of school next week on the day that I normally record the podcast. And so I'm going to spend a little extra time hanging out with my family instead of recording podcast episodes. So with that in mind, I'm in the mode of I'm doing some Christmas shopping for people, and the toughest thing for me, this is going to sound falsely humble, false humility, but the toughest thing for me is always trying to figure out what people are, what I want for Christmas, because I don't expect anything from anybody, but my family, they are saying, hey, you got to tell me something you want. And, I'm in a place, we're in a place financially where I don't go buying. I'm not super rich or anything, but if there's a little something that I really want, I think that, I'd like to have it. I don't always buy it right away, but I'll save up or whatever, and I'll get it. So all throughout the year, as I think a lot of times as we become adults, this happens, but we get to a place where we kind of get things along the way that we want. We don't not get everything we want all the time, and or we just kind of decide after a while that we didn't really want it in the first place and don't get it. That actually happens with me more than anything else. But anyway, it always is a struggle. I always forget to think about what I want for Christmas. And then when it comes around to the week before Christmas, I have to panic and figure out some things that I could ask for from other people that don't cost $2,000 each, because the things that I don't have that I really want, most of them are really expensive. They're cool pieces of studio gear and stuff like that. So with that in mind, though, I thought I'd talk a little bit about kind of figuring out what you want, because along the lines, another reason why it's really hard for me to decide what I want for Christmas is, my wife and I, when we're deciding what we want to get each other for Christmas, it's all coming out of the same bank account. So we're all paying, for our own stuff. I'm paying for my own presents. She's paying for her own presents because we put all our money in the same bank account, and then we all pay for it. So we both kind of talked about it. I think we're going to try to take it a little easy on the Christmas presents this year for each other, just because we're about to move into a new house, and we'd rather spend some money on some nice things for the house instead. But another piece of that, the reason why I don't want to spend too much money on Christmas is I do have a new dedicated studio space, which I'm really excited about in this new house. And there's not going to be a ton of things there's nothing really that I need to acquire for this space, but there's going to be a few things that it would be very nice to have in this space. For example, a desk, a place to mix and listen to and track things at with a computer. And so, because it used to be in my old studio, I'm a drummer, in case you didn't know this already. In my old studio space, the studio was the drums. I had the drums and the mics and an old iMac up in one spot in the house on a third floor that had been finished out. And so I would record basically everything to that computer onto an external hard drive. But then when I was actually going to mix the song or work on the song for any other piece of it, other instrumentation and such, I would bring it down to the first floor in my office space in the house and actually work on it there. Well, my plan is in this new house to make it a real studio space where everything gets done in that room. And so I feel like that might be a little more inspiring, a little bit more better for me mentally to have a place I go to make music instead of it all kind of bleeding together with work and other things. So I do need a desk and I need a few other things, or I'd like to have a few other things. And all of those things are probably going to be expensive. So I keep getting tempted by something, and I wanted to kind of bring this up for you because I know that you might be in the same place as me, even if it's not Christmas time when you're listening to this, thinking about things you'd like to have from a gear perspective for your music. And that is this. I have, over the years, acquired a lot of gear, a lot of great mics, a lot of great recording equipment, some great plugins for my recording equipment, things like that. A really nice drum set, for example. And my goal personally, with what I want to do in my studio is I want to do two things. One is I want to just make more music for myself, like music that I create for fun, with no professional aspiration for it. And some of that does include me doing the drum videos that I used to post all the time. I'm still going to post those things to my Instagram once I move back into this new space. But I just want to just do some more recording for fun. And that includes, I play guitar and other instruments and piano a little bit. And so I want to be able to just make full songs all by myself, all the instruments, play all the instruments, everything. I want to do more of that. And so that's one thing I want to do. And then the other thing that I'd like to do is I'd love to have a place for just my friends around here, around town. There's a few musicians and stuff that I know here in my small little town that I live in outside of Nashville. I'd love to have a place for them to come and make music too, just for fun. We all could sit together and they probably play music that's not my style and I wouldn't necessarily pick it. But I just really enjoy making music with other people. And so I thought, hey, it'd be fun for them to give them a place if they didn't have access to a studio or never really thought about it, just to have a place that I can find people around town who might want that opportunity and then provide a place for them. So with those two thoughts in mind, that's what I really want to do in that space. I keep finding myself getting tempted by certain pieces of gear, and then keep reminding myself of why I probably don't need that piece of gear. So like one thing that I keep getting tempted by that I really, really want, and it's completely irrational, are these like touch screen, interfaces for controlling my recording program, like to mix quicker. And they look really cool, they're really impressive, and they're really fun to use. And I do spend a lot of time mixing the stuff that I do. So that's why it's tempting to me. It looks really nice, it's very clean. I'm a minimalist, so I like that it's very clean lines. There's not a bunch of knobs and stuff. It's all touch screens. That's very attractive to me. But it's pretty expensive. And then the other things that I've been looking at are other items I'm going to get to in a minute. But let me tell you a little bit about this touchscreen thing. The reason why I think I just described to you why it's so attractive and so cool to me. But what I keep coming back to with that, and the reason why I haven't decided to actually go that route and get that yet is I'm realizing that there are other pieces of my sound in the scenarios I just described where I want to play my own music and I want to help others. There are other pieces of gear that I don't have that are or pieces that I do have that are not up to par with the rest of my gear. So for example, the plugins that I have for my recording program are world-class and great. The drums that I have are world-class and great. But the electric guitar that I have currently is not world-class and great, or even close to it. It's a Squier Telecaster. It's the cheapest of the cheap you can get. And I love that guitar and it sounds great for what it is. But it is definitely lacking. I don't have a really great guitar amp that is versatile enough to do everything that I might want to do in the future. And it's not very inspiring in general because it can kind of do one thing and only one thing only. I don't have any guitar effect pedals, so I can't really like change my sound very much. And I do, when I'm creating music, I get very inspired by the sound that I come across by messing around a lot. So that's a big piece. That's important for me. I don't have a great bass guitar either. And so those are all pieces that are missing. I definitely know that I'm going to need sound treatment for my studio space beyond what I have. And so those are all things that are lacking in my current sound that I probably should work on first. There are other pieces of gear that I could work on, getting like a mixing board. Like, there's some really expensive ones that I've looked at that I'd really love to have someday, that would really affect the sound of everything that I do. But again, the focus that I have to keep reminding myself of is, look, one thing, these touchscreen things look really cool and they're really fun to play with and really exciting, but they only are geared towards mixing songs at the end of the process, which is not really where I want to spend my time. I want to spend my time making really cool things. And there's so much lacking from a gear perspective in the part of making music right now that I'd really be doing myself a disservice if I spent all of my money up front on the piece that helps me mix, but at the same time, I have a guitar that doesn't sound as good as I'd like for it to sound. So how does this apply to you? Well, I just want to encourage you in the same way as you come through maybe a holiday season where you might be thinking about things you'd like to have, or even, some of us get money from relatives and stuff for Christmas. And I know a lot of us, it's hard for us to justify spending our hard-earned money on a bunch of music gear. But a lot of times the holidays are a good time to, get some gift money that you maybe feel okay about spending on something fun like music. But as you're looking through all of that, look at your own gear situation. And I would encourage you to look at your gear situation through the lens of what are my goals? What would I like to be doing with music? And if your answer is, I just want to be having fun, then think about the piece of gear that would help you have the most fun playing music. If you want to be a professional and your next goal is getting paid, think about what might be the piece of gear that maybe makes you not come across as professional as you know you are. For example, there are a lot of guitar amps that are not very expensive that are made by companies that some people think are not that professional. And if you're playing remote sessions, it doesn't matter what kind of guitar amp you have because you can get a great sound from it. But there is some kind of visual aspect to showing up and playing shows. And if you have a guitar amp that's made by some company that a lot of people think is not cool, it doesn't matter how good that guitar sounds, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't this way, but it's the truth. It doesn't matter how good that guitar sounds. People are going to think it doesn't sound good because it looks like something that doesn't sound good, as weird as that is. Or you might be the person who says, I want to hang my hat on the quirkiness of the fact that I do have a piece of gear that doesn't look like it's going to sound that great, and it does sound great. But you got to have that goal in mind before you start looking through that lens and figuring out what kind of gear you would or would not like to have. So just keep that in mind. That's my big tip. It took me a long time to get there, but I just wanted to tell you, you might find something really cool that you hadn't thought of once you start looking at, okay, what's my gear situation through the lens of what your next goal in your music career is, or just having fun with music. All right. Well, like I said, I am going to take a break for a few weeks, starting after this episode airs, just to spend more time with my family. I hope that you get a chance to spend time with your friends and family and that you get some rest around the holidays. I know that for many of us, the holidays, at least leading up to this time, Christmas, even Thanksgiving before this, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, even all of that. There's a lot of things that can go on that can make it seem really stressful and hectic. I know that's happening with me a little bit, especially with this new house, but I hope you get a chance to get some rest and relaxation mixed in with all that stress and hecticness, if that's even a word. All right. Well, thanks for joining me this week, and we will be back. Don't worry if you don't see me for a few weeks. I will be back, and we'll hang out again very soon here on The Practical Pro Musician. But thanks for joining me this time. Bye for now.